half in the bag.
Huh. It looks like Black Widow is doing really well at the box office.
What's a box office?
It's the take of movies when they play in a theater,
Okay.
if you remember those.
Yeah, I do.
It's like these suckers don't know you can just stay at home and watch it.
Jay, no one's in the movie theaters anymore. So it's like watching it in a big room in your house.
Well, in that case, let's go back to the theater.
All right.
You want to see Black Widow?
Sure. Let's go to the theater and watch Black Widow.
You don't know everything about me. I've lived a lot of lives.
Girls get it done. Well, girls and David Harbour get it done. Finally, the first Marvel movie focusing on a female character's backstory. Good thing they waited until after she died in Black Widow. And in case you're confused, this movie takes place right after Civil War, but before Infinity War. Scarlett Johansson plays super secret, uninjurable Natasha Romanoff. With the help from her non-family, she's on a quest to kill movie producer Martin Scorsese in his floating movie studio in the sky. Also, Black Widow has a sister. The girl from that movie where she pouts. What's it called? Also, Black Widow has a sister, or not sister, a fake sister. It's the girl from Midsommar. They have adventures. She never gets injured either. Now that's a strong female character. So Jay, we finally have another Marvel movie.
Yeah.
It's been a long time. It's been since Spider-Man
Far From Home.
Far From Home. That was the.
It was a nice little vacation from Marvel.
Right. There's Marvel on TV, but we'll talk about that.
Sure.
But we haven't had a big Marvel feature film in several years. I think this movie was probably shot 4 years ago. I think it was supposed to come out in 2019.
It's supposed to be the first Marvel movie, actually. The very first one. They shelved it. They said, let's go with Robert Downey Jr. as our start instead of this thing.
No, this was supposed to come out, I think, well, during the pandemic, of course, but I thought it was like very early in the pandemic. Like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then it got pushed to like summer, and then they said November, and then now here we are, July of 2021. So that means this was probably shot in 2019, 2018.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
All the previs action sequences were already assembled before they even had a script in 2017.
Or a director.
Or a director.
Or a writer.
Which is a real thing, by the way. I don't know how widely known that is, but it's very obvious in some of these Marvel movies that, yeah, the action scenes are already in the works. They have their effects artists working on them before they even have a script or a filmmaker to direct the actors in the scenes that don't involve the special effects.
Right.
Which this movie may be the strongest example of that shift from, hey, here are actors delivering lines of dialogue and information, and then here's ridiculous, ugly, bad action scenes.
Oh yeah.
Because some of the scenes with actors saying things to each other in rooms in this is pretty okay.
I have to say, and maybe it's the fact that I'm an adult, but those are the parts that I like the most. I didn't really like this movie. I didn't really hate this movie.
It was a big shrug of a movie, and
yeah.
Also the fact that it was made is a big, like, why now? I mean, you have a movie with a character that died in Endgame, so it's like, well, if we want to make a Scarlett Johansson vehicle, it has to take place in the past, which means that it has to be, which is, I guess, kind of a positive that it's so self-contained compared to some of these other movies. It's just a little story about family and about getting the band back together to take down a sex trafficker, basically.
Yeah, the metaphor is not so subtle, but we'll talk about that. But I wanted to point on that. Yes, this is after Black Widow's character has died. She dies in Endgame, but it can't be an origin story unless you gotta de-age Scarlett Johansson. Not that she doesn't look old or anything. I'm just saying, like, an origin story would be a long time ago, so she'd have to be like teenager age.
Right.
And so you really couldn't do an origin story.
And I think we kind of got that in Age of Ultron. I have vague memories. I haven't seen that movie since it came out.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff about her backstory, and I think people were pissed off about the fact that she was so upset that she couldn't have children in that movie.
In the Red Room, where I was trained, they sterilize you. You still think you're the only monster on the team.
Which is weird. People were upset about that in that movie. Or I think it was partially because it was like, oh, that doesn't make her less of a woman. And the movie's trying to treat it as if she's less of a woman because she can't have kids. There's some controversy vague in the back of my mind when that movie came out. This movie, they bring it up again that her sister, played by Frowny Face, also had her uterus ripped out of her. And they play it as a joke. And it was really weird.
And they rip out all of your reproductive organs. They just get right in there.
Okay.
So you can't have
Okay,
babies.
you don't have to get so clinical and nasty.
Why did they do that? Anybody out there in comic book land know?
It's efficient. One less thing to worry about. The one thing that might matter more than a mission.
They just get right in there and they chop them all away, everything out.
Okay.
But what I was saying, so they can't do an origin story. They can't do something that takes place post Endgame and, that world. So it's like, okay, we got to take a little sliver of a story. Yeah. And it sort of is an origin story because they show her and Francis Pugh. How do you say your name? Pugh?
Pugh, I think.
Pugh.
I
like
think.
the H is silent, or the G is silent.
Yeah.
Pugh. They show their backstory, and we got some more information like further back. But the whole premise of the movie kind of is self-defeating because it takes the uniqueness away from Black Widow's character.
Mm-hmm. She's becomes almost like a side character in this movie. She's the least interesting character.
The most interesting character was David Harbour.
David Harbour and Florence Pugh, their scenes together.
They were good, yeah.
Were good.
They didn't develop, they didn't develop either of them very much.
No, what they had to work with was good.
Yeah.
They have some nice little moments when they're all reunited, when they're in the bedroom together and they kind of reconnect. And
Yeah.
It's like, oh, hey, look, a scene with actors emoting. This is nice.
To me, you were everything.
I keep wanting to say Scarlet Witch.
Much more interesting character.
Scarlett Johansson, aka Black Widow, is very emotionally closed off. Where they had that scene at the dinner table where they're all like reminiscing or something, and she's like, "Shut up!
Yeah.
You're a fraud. You're a failure. You're an asshole. Let's just get to work." That's kind of her character. So having her do some of the stuff that Midsommar did would have been nice.
Sure.
But I don't know. Whatever.
But she still has to be the same character after this movie as she was before it because those other movies exist already.
Yes.
But to your point that they couldn't make this set after Endgame because she dies in that, I wanted to point out that shit don't matter anymore.
That's true.
Which is a problem I have, an increasing problem with these Marvel movies, is that there are no emotional stakes because characters can die and then they just bring them back. Loki's died twice. He has his own TV show now. Vision died. He's back.
That's true.
None of this shit sticks, which makes it not matter, which makes me not care.
They're not technically back.
They're back.
But the Loki story takes place in that moment of time travel or something.
Yeah, it was set up in Endgame, but it's still
So Loki still is dead.
Technically. I'm not watching the Loki show, so I don't know what happens there.
Yeah.
But I watched the first episode and I noped right out of there.
Okay, so here's where we have the hypothetical. What do you do? I would speculate. You said why now? Why would you make a Black Widow movie? I would guess maybe it's a contract thing. They had Scarlett for one more film and didn't want to waste it. Have they done? Is this the first solo female Marvel-led movie?
No, Mike.
Oh God!
Are you forgetting about everybody's favorite film, Captain Marvel?
I totally did.
I think everybody
totally
did.
I guess I just don't see her as a lady. I see her as as a non-sexual entity from space who flies around and punches people.
She was a human. What happened in that movie?
This would be a fun trivia show. What happened?
What happened in Captain Marvel?
Sure, her airplane went so high up into the atmosphere, space radiation or magic space dust got into her spacecraft, and then she crashed.
Yes.
And then she realized she had superpowers.
And then she became the most powerful character in the MCU, so much so that they had to find ways to keep her out of Endgame as much as possible.
Right.
Because when she shows up, she could just end the whole thing immediately.
Right.
Which makes her boring. Characters that can't be hurt are boring. Black Widow is boring. The movie.
I think I'm that part of my brain that goes, oh gosh, wouldn't someone have a concussion, or wouldn't someone's wrist have been broken or leg have been broken? Like what that part with the car.
Oh,
the
yeah.
car like lands on a train and flips over and explodes and flies into a subway station.
Or the other part with the car, when the Taskmaster blows up her car, she's like on the edge of a bridge.
Yeah.
And the car flips over 5 times, and they cut to Scarlett Johansson in front of a green screen going, ah!
Or the ending when she's falling.
The ending is the worst thing about this fucking movie.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
And that's what I say. The contrast between that and just like normal scenes with characters and people in them
Right.
is so dramatic in this. The only movie I can think of that's similar is maybe Black Panther, where it's like, oh, there's character drama, there's interesting stuff going on, and then everybody fights on CGI rhinos at the end. And that's why early on I was thinking, like, the first kind of big action, the way this movie opens, is they're fleeing the country. Their fake family is fleeing the country, and David Harbour's on, like, the wing of the plane, and it's relatively simple. And I was like, oh, this isn't bad.
Yeah.
And then the movie kind of goes on and has a very sort of, like, I don't know, Jason Bourne kind of feel to it. I was
Yeah.
like, this is surprisingly
Mission
dour.
Impossible.
Mission Impossible, I was thinking of during the car chase. Like, I think you even pointed it out. There's that first car chase.
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
like, oh, now we're turning this over to the second unit to film all the car stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Scarlett Johansson's in front of a green screen going like this.
They're on a motorcycle in Budapest, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. And they're on the motorcycle for like 1/10 of the sequence. The motorcycle falls over, and then they go, let's run and get into this car.
Oh my lord!
And they just run and get in a car. We cynically joked, so they could take the 2 actresses and put them in a car on a soundstage, and then they don't have to have them in Hungary anymore.
Yeah.
They don't have to have them on. They got second unit comes in. They got 2 look-alike stunt drivers to drive around the little blue car, and they film a bunch of shots. And Scarlett Johansson's driving in a soap opera, looking around.
It looks like Psycho from 1960.
Yeah. But yeah, I think just the action stuff I was just like bored with, and then I kind of struggled to make sense of what the movie, what the purpose was, and what I was expecting was a more Mission Impossible-esque storyline, where we didn't need the big floating fortress at the end, and the supervillain, and the silly plot, the silly plot that reduces her character's uniqueness. I didn't like, because the only thing I knew about Black Widow, I don't really remember all these things. Black Widow was a lady who this is my version of Black Widow. This is what I think of her character in my head.
Sure.
And I don't know what's real.
You're
what's not
representing
anymore.
the average moviegoer, not the diehard MCU fan.
Sure, average moviegoer, or just kind of how I interpret her character, regardless
Okay.
of what facts they've thrown at me.
Regardless of reality.
This is how I interpret Black Widow's character.
Okay.
Natasha Romanoff grew up on the mean streets of Russia, and she had a tough upbringing. So she decided to join the Russian, KGB or whatever, and she became really good at beating people up She has an uncanny ability to fight really, really well, and she's really good at spy shit. And then after years of doing dirty work, she says, I feel bad about this, and I'm gonna be an Avenger. End of story.
I'm pretty sure that's what it was, yeah. I think she was a killer, right? She was killing
Assassin.
people. She was an assassin, yeah.
Right. And that was it. And then in this film, we have Martin Scorsese. I don't know, you disagree.
I didn't think he looked like Martin Scorsese.
He's got the same glasses and the same hairstyle, and he looks younger and fatter. So bad guy uses implanted devices through his iPad to control thousands of women all over the world to do his evil biddings. And, we will mention this very briefly because there's obvious metaphor here for, I don't know, whatever modern day problems there are, sex trafficking, the Hollywood studio system.
That's why you keep calling him Martin Scorsese, but he's clearly a Harvey Weinstein type.
That's more he looks like Martin Scorsese. It's confusing because they're both involved with movies. He looks like Martin Scorsese, but he's clearly a Harvey Weinstein. And even his office in the giant floating spaceship is like this kind of vintagey Art Deco, old Hollywood looking movie producer office with like the hardwood floors and the chandeliers, and it's a very like out of place.
Was there a big couch? I'm sure there was a big couch.
There's a giant sign that says casting couch. But he sees women as commodity, and so there's some sort of social commentary there. But why, if you're gonna have armies of assassins, why women?
So that you can rescue the women at the end, so girls can get it done.
I mean, like, wouldn't you want, I'm not being sexist, but wouldn't you want men to be your lethal assassins?
I'm trying to think if they explain this in the movie. There may be some line about it.
Usually the only natural resource that the world has too much of. Girls.
I mean, you don't have to perform hysterectomies on all the men.
Yeah.
I know girls get it done. I mean, maybe women make better assassins. Maybe they could blend in. But they all wear like a uniform. What do assassins wear uniforms? It would be neater if, like, he would turn things off and on. Like, because he remember that part where he made one kill herself?
Yeah.
Because she became exposed to the gas. He's like, he's got his iPad and he hits terminate, and then she kills herself. But I think all the widows live on the magical flying space castle. And then he sends them down in their Black Widow outfits to go assassinate.
So you're saying if they just walked around like normal people, they weren't even aware they were assassins?
Yeah.
That's the plot of the first Naked Gun movie.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, Reggie Jackson.
I must kill the queen.
He tries to kill the Queen of England.
Yes.
This movie should have
And
done
Leslie
that.
Nielsen saves her and ends up on top of her with her legs spread in the air. You're right. That is the plot of the first Naked Gun movie. But what a great premise.
An assassin that doesn't know they're an assassin.
Yeah, he hits that button and it's almost like it's an extension of his super soldier project to,
Sure.
But it falls in line with the metaphor of like controlling the women, like, he's like a pimp essentially, like,
yeah,
you're just gonna do whatever I say and I have you under my full control. Not being like a smarter supervillain would be more subtle, and secretive and less obvious, like having an army of brain dead women that you can control with your iPad to do your biddings, but more so like have just random people, not even just women, just people who have a secret chip in them that are near targets that you might, make money assassinating.
Yeah.
Like, this guy's really good. I'm going to hit this button and he's going to assassinate some dictator or
Queen of England.
The Queen of England, right.
During a baseball game.
And then maybe Scarlet Witch or Scarlett Johansson has to go and find them before they get their targets,
Sure.
And each one along the line, that she finds gets her closer.
Gives her more information on how to find him.
Yeah, like a spy movie.
As opposed to just...
Like a movie.
Like a movie,
Like just a regular movie.
Sure.
not a big fart. Not a big wet fart, but
As opposed to
right?
As opposed to going to Rachel Weisz and just saying, "Where's the guy?
Where's the guy?
Oh, he's here.
I'll take you to him.
Okay.
Oh yeah, remember that part where her mother was like, "I've already contacted the Red Room, and they're coming." Cut to a different scene, and then they rip their faces off and they've swapped roles.
Again, Mission Impossible style.
Mission Impossible. But then they tell us in a flashback what happened. I'm like, I figured that out on my own.
I get it.
Scarlett Johansson was in on it.
Yeah.
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 And on the whole thing. Thanks for telling me. Can you make this a little more like, give me a little more credit? I guess you're making this for 6-year-olds, but you're also making this for 40-year-old fat guys.
Yeah.
So I guess you got to explain it to both. I just don't know. But yeah, having her go around the world. And the next assassination's going to occur here. I know because I found this information out. We're going to stop this assassin. Who's the secret widow? I guess a widow has to be a female. But just have her be Black Widow. She's the only Black Widow. That's her name. That's her code name.
Yeah. That's what it's always been, as far as I know.
Secret assassins. They don't have to be called widows. They don't have to look like her and wear the same outfit and be part of an army that does exactly everything that she does. But her and her father were the Red Guardian, just go around the world. He wants to wear his outfit, and she keeps saying, no, it's too obvious.
You're embarrassing me in public.
Yeah. That would be fun. Instead of Natasha going and living in a trailer in the middle of a field, wouldn't it have been fun if the first act of the movie was her fish out of water stuff? She's hiding from being caught because she's like she violated the Sokovia Accords or whatever, and so now that
she's being tracked by William Hurt and Shields. And,
but she pays some guy who gets her things to get her a trailer in the middle of a field in like Norway or something. Wouldn't it have been fun if she went like dyed her hair and changed her appearance and then like had to work as like a waitress at like a Denny's or something
in Florida.
Yes, that would be. And she has she tries to practice this like really terrible Southern accent, and she just keeps messing it up. And maybe she stops a small town bank heist while she's depositing the money for like the diner that she works at, and someone tries to rob the bank. And then she's like, shit.
Here we go again.
I'm an Avenger. I got to intervene. And she just goes, but it's all on security cameras. That ain't no waitress. Thus the plot begins, But you have a handful of fun fish out of water scenes where she's got to go undercover, basically. She meets up with her family, Red Guardian. They go on an adventure. They discover this network of spies that are being used as secret assassins, and then she wants to get back at the big guy. Yeah, I guess you have to have a villain, a main villain.
You gotta have a villain. You have to have a secondary villain.
Yeah, but he doesn't have to live in a flying fortress and have a silly plot involving brainwashing gas.
Yes, he does, Mike. How else are you supposed to take a plot about sex trafficking seriously?
I like David Harbour. He is the Red Guardian. Like that whole premise was kind of fun, like Soviet era, like super soldier kind of the
wishes he was a Captain America type.
He's the guy that the Soviets created to combat Captain America, and then the guy changed course with his like super soldier project, and he didn't want him anymore, so he just put him in a prison, and he could probably escape, but he just doesn't. He's just enjoying his time there, arm wrestling people, and then he gets kind of like they rescue him from the prison. He gets called back to duty, kind of, and he wants to put on his uniform. And I was really hoping for a Chris Evans cameo, where he just pops in at the end, and then him and Red Guardian fight just for a scene. Just give us that.
Or you have Red Guardian like fanboy out over him or something.
Yeah. He doesn't want to fight him.
Yeah.
It turns out he really is just like, he just admires him or something.
Sure.
So there's a little twist on it.
Yeah.
But can't have that fun.
Yeah, which honestly I was okay with, because at this point the Marvel movies have become so formulaic in terms of their tone. It's like a factory at this point.
Well, I would be okay with it if the premise was toned down and less silly.
Oh, sure,
The
yeah, if
premise
the
was
action
silly.
was better.
Yeah.
And yeah. But as a change of pace, because this is probably like the least interested I've been in a Marvel movie. Because I think we mentioned this before, but Endgame really, it didn't feel like the end of Phase 3 or whatever. It felt like an end.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, you had 10 years, you built this whole thing up, we're done now. And then this movie comes along, and it's sort of just like, I don't know, an afterthought. It's so weightless in terms of its use in the overall MCU. Sure. So it's like, just like, oh, they're gonna be quippy and they'll be fun, cartoony action. So the fact that it took it more seriously early on, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay with this, but then the action got so ridiculous and stupid that you can't connect with it anymore.
Yeah. Certainly the first act was good, but the whole plot, the plot was so like cartoony.
Yeah.
Had he not had such a cartoonish master plan, or that, I think that was just the big thing for me was,
yeah.
I wanted this. It should have been a spy thriller, or Mission Impossible, Ethan Hunt on a motorcycle in Budapest and fighting guys. She doesn't really do much martial arts. Like that's her thing.
Scarlett Johansson was done. She's like, I don't want to rehearse all these stunts.
Yeah, maybe. It's not flying through the sky.
Right.
Black Widow shouldn't fly through the sky.
But you have to put that in. It's like that struggle, and you see it in the movie. Like, we looked up the director because it's like, who made this? It was someone who has very few credits.
I did some deep diving.
Okay.
And I found some interesting things out.
Okay. I know she directed some movie like a decade ago, and then she did episodes of a show called Smilf that I think the creator of that show got canceled. I think she turned out to have issues with like appropriateness on set. I don't know the details of it. But aside from that, I don't know who this lady is, but it seems like she was trying to make a serious, more kind of like Ethan Hunt spy action movie. And then you have the heads at Marvel saying, well, you got to put this in there. You got to make it bigger.
I don't want to speak out of turn. I don't want to talk about things I don't know. But I would guess that they've found this director via a computer algorithm. Okay?
Okay.
And I don't know anything about the director personally or how they found her. I just looked on IMDb. I did some IMDb-ing. She did a movie called Lore. There's another movie called Somersault and another movie called The Berlin Syndrome. Now listen to some of these synopsises.
Okay.
And let me know if anything sounds familiar. Somersault, a young girl flees her hometown and arrives in the Australian Alps, where new experiences help her learn the differences between sex and love.
Okay.
Okay. So the other movie's Lore. This is on the poster. It's the tagline on the poster. When your life is a lie, who can you trust? Sound familiar?
Sure.
Here's the premise. As the Allies sweep across Germany, Lore leads her siblings on a journey that exposes them to the truth of their parents' belief. An encounter with a mysterious refugee forces Lore to rely on the person she's always been taught to hate. Okay, Berlin Syndrome. Title is a play on Stockholm Syndrome. A passionate holiday romance leads to an obsessive relationship when an Australian photojournalist wakes up one morning in a Berlin apartment and is unable to leave. So we got a lot of female-centric movies about either being trapped or self-discovery or learning about their past.
Siblings/parent stuff. Interesting. So they scanned the script of Black Widow into a computer, and
Yes.
it calculated who had made movies with the closest elements, and they're like, boop,
Yes.
this lady.
That's what it feels like.
Sure.
Because this lady is not on the major radar.
Well,
of
there's the two.
the Hollywood studio system.
Yeah, there's the two type of directors that do these movies, which is the indie director who made one small movie that the studio scoops up to make a huge movie so that they can exploit them and get them to do whatever they want. Or you have an established director, like can you believe fucking Kenneth Branagh directed a Thor movie? That feels like a million years ago.
Right.
So that's it. So yeah, this random, nothing against her. I haven't seen her other movies, but it does seem like a where did this come from kind of choice.
Right, and you're right. I doubt they physically took the script and
No,
put
they
it
did.
into a machine.
They put it into their top secret Disney computer.
Maybe they've got an android like Data who just reads it. The equivalent thereof, maybe it's an app on like Kevin Feige's cell phone.
He just scans the script.
And it tells it's his phone, and it's like connected, and it comes up with a list of directors. Because all cynicism aside, you have great swaths of this movie that are characters, mother, father, daughters. They all are not a real family, but they were, and they have to move. They're in different stages of their lives. They reconnect later, and they've all changed. And so, you want a director who would know how to handle that material with the actors. It makes total sense.
Sure.
This lady is not on set when motorcycles are being flung around by wires and things are exploding.
That's like when you talked about Ready Player One. You're like, Steven Spielberg was on set for 2 days, and then the rest of it was the computer people.
Right. It's just the reality of things.
Yeah.
Maybe she was here and there. I don't know.
And the frustrating part is that there's such a dramatic split between those two elements.
Yeah.
Where they almost feel like different movies. He may be a big old weirdo, but God bless Tom Cruise for his dedication to those Mission Impossible movies and having real stunts and having them feel like a cohesive movie.
Right. Those Mission Impossible movies, the character stuff blends seamlessly with the action stuff.
Well, they feel like they're made by a filmmaker that's in control of the project.
Right.
And I don't know, this is speculation too, but we noticed early on when Florence Pugh chases that girl down the alley, fucking stabs her in the stomach, cuts her across the stomach, and for a split second is like, ooh, that's pretty brutal for a Disney Marvel movie. But then there's absolutely no blood. You see her on the ground, and there's like a rip in her shirt, and her shirt looks wet. And it's so bloodless where it's like, it takes you out of the movie.
Right.
If you're gonna do something like that, not that it needs to be a gore fest, and obviously they wouldn't do that, but you need to feel the weight of the violence if that's what you're going for.
Yeah.
And if not, don't put that in the movie.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's maybe the director wanted to make it more gritty since she has a history in more kind of dramatic, grittier films.
So what you're saying is, in a movie about assassins, show no assassinations.
Yes.
Yeah. You can have them looking through their scopes.
And in a movie where you're clearly trying to talk about sex trafficking, remove the sex trafficking element as much as possible so it's cartoony and stupid, which they also do. So it's there was probably at some point a kernel of the idea for this movie was a real movie, and then it just got stripped away by Mickey Mouse. Which leads into a little bit of something I've been noticing is nobody's talking about this movie the way they were talking about Captain Marvel a few years ago. That idea, or Wonder Woman. It's empowering for women. I feel like no one's talking about that with this movie. Maybe I'm wrong, but I haven't seen much of that.
No.
I feel like either people are just not that interested in a Black Widow movie, or they've gotten tired of that grift, that lie, that attempt to guilt trip you into liking a mediocre movie because it's supposed to be empowering when it really isn't. Because this movie isn't really, it's not about sex trafficking or women being taken advantage of. It has that fake sheen of being about that, but it's not really.
Do you remember the part when she couldn't punch him because of his pheromones? I'm so fucking powerful. It was literally on the nose because she had to smash her nose.
That's true. Yeah.
To not smell the stinky movie producer, so she could kick his ass or something. Mm-hmm. Yes, they had some good working ideas, but didn't go, full in on them. Mm-hmm. Or did it incorrectly.
Well, and I understand with like a Disney Marvel movie following the Avengers and following Spider-Man, like you can't get too dark and gritty. But if that's the case, do a completely different movie, a completely different script.
Do a different story. Yeah. Like just make it some kind of like.
Because when you strip away the real world aspects of it that much, then it becomes like weightless.
I think many an episode ago I joked around about the strong female character and the movie industry's idea of that. It's flying and landing on the top of a train and flipping off and exploding and that's literally the ending of this movie.
Yeah.
It's so ridiculous. Mm-hmm. What a waste that you focused on the physicality part. Mm-hmm. Because she is strong. She's got Wolverine bones. She fucking smashed her nose on the table and then reset it.
Yep.
And then like 2 scenes later, she has absolutely no blood anywhere on her face. And she got punched like 5 times in the face.
Yeah.
By Marty Scorsese. There's no bruising, there's no blood. Like 3 scenes later in the same sequence, she has no visible injuries. I don't know, to me it's just tired. I think that's why there's no traction. Because I think people might have woken up to the fact that the grift is over. they can't be suckered into, my daughter wants to be Black Widow for Halloween. I mean, there's.
Well, that's the thing too. Is like we could talk about how this movie isn't realistic in terms of the action, but a little kid might not care about that. Like a little kid just wants to see, a superhero beat people up. But a little kid's going to be bored by this movie. It's too dry and serious for a kid, and it's too silly and stupid for adults. So
exactly. It doesn't have that Marvel magical formula that well balanced. Mostly all of the Marvel movies are well balanced. They take themselves seriously to just that perfect point, and then they have a moment where they laugh at themselves, or tongue in cheek moments.
Yeah.
And that's that magical combination. And this had a couple of moments like that. I think the only standout thing is when Florence Pugh is making fun of Scarlett Johansson's like superhero pose.
Like action poses.
Yeah. And that was some cute banter. That was funny. It was self-referential, it was tongue-in-cheek, and then she does it later in the movie, and she's like, no, it's not for me. It's weird. And I'm like, okay, that's that Marvel fun.
Yeah, there's no kind of twist to the story aside from the revelation of who the Taskmaster is.
Right.
Which I did a tiny bit of reading. Apparently people are upset about that. It's the same with the Mandarin and Iron Man 3, where it's like, I don't care if it's like the comics. It's at least an interesting ripple in the story.
It's something that
fine.
happened. Yes. Yes. That's the most vaguest thing to a plot element.
Yeah.
Is her atonement for killing the girl. She lets the Taskmaster out of the prison and I'm going to save you. Mm-hmm. And then at the end, she saves her, gives her the magic gas.
Yeah.
I know your face is fucked up, but you're no longer a sex slave.
You're no longer dressed like a G.I. Joe villain.
You're no longer Cobra Commander. You no longer have to wear a biker helmet. And I could point you to a really good plastic surgeon in Calabasas.
Bring her home.
Not that it wasn't before, but it more than ever now, it's a brand.
Sure.
And that's it.
Yeah.
It's just, there's no solid direction. There's no cohesion. There's no sense of community or unity. Like leading up to the Thanos stuff, it felt like everyone was on board. Now it feels fractured.
Yeah.
Like, okay, here's a Loki TV show. Here's a show about this, and here's
It's
another movie.
It's like current Star Wars, which I'm sure coincidentally is also owned by Disney.
Yeah, and it falls in line with the landscape of how entertainment is consumed.
Yeah.
Now, pre-pandemic, everyone went to the movie theater to watch Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
And now it's watch it wherever. Like, you can watch Black Widow at home the same day it's out in theaters. Some movies come out and they're in the theaters for a month, and then you could get it. Some are at the same time. It's just the...
And some people are choosing to just watch shows instead of movies altogether.
Right.
Because most shows are better than most movies now.
Right. So it's falling in line with consumerism and the products people want. Some people might want a show, some people might want a movie. So Disney/Marvel, they have to produce both. Every now and then put a movie out, continue on with shows. So it's sort of like a pick and choose of what part of the Marvel universe you want to watch. Before it was, here's the sequence of the universe as it unfolds. Now it's just grab from wherever and consume which parts you want. And it feels like less of a we're all in this together kind of thing and more of just a
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of how I'm responding to this Black Widow thing, where it's like, one, it feels way too late.
Yes.
Way too late. Two, it feels pointless and overdone. I don't think little kids will really be super into this, and it's not smart enough for adults.
Daddy, what's a hysterectomy?
Oh.
Then you have to awkwardly explain that to your kid in the middle of the theater. There's some fat guys eating popcorn next to you. What an awkward night. A daddy-daughter date. Oh. You have to end explaining that shit.
So that's when you just tell a lie.
Oh, okay.
Someone took her cat away.
Her cat was named Uterus.
I don't have a uterus.
Or ovaries.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't care if I would recommend this movie or not. That's all I have to say about that.
Okay, bye.
Bye. I'd recommend our version of it. Just imagine a different movie in your head. Okay? While you watch it, just imagine everything is different.
Just pretend you're watching a different movie.
Watch something else.
Go watch The Naked Gun.
Go watch The Naked Gun.
That's a delightful film. God bless Leslie Nielsen.
Who would have thought he made a better Avenger than Scarlett Johansson or Black Widow? Can Leslie Nielsen be called the White Widower? Right? Because he's got a widower is the male version of a widow.
Yes.
And he's got white hair. The White Widower. Leslie Nielsen.
Can he also be blind for no reason, like his character from Mr. Magoo?
Yeah, yes. But
that'll lead to all sorts of hilarity.
He'll wear that white cat suit, you know?
Oh, yeah, she wears a white cat suit.
And she'll wear the black one, and they'll team up.
Yeah.
And Black Widow 2, White Widower. Anyways, thanks for watching Half in the Bag. As always, remember to like and subscribe. Leave your comments below. Let us know what movie you'd like us to review next.
We won't.
Because we won't. And be sure to dislike this video. Can everyone just dislike this video? Can we make this the most disliked video on our channel?
Yeah, if you've made it this far, dislike the video.
Please, dislike the video.
That'll confuse people that don't make it to the end of the video. Why does everyone hate this episode so much?
Well, because...
Is it because they're sexist?
Yeah, they'll think that. So
okay.
Everyone click the dislike button.
Yeah,
everyone,
do it. Let's see what happens.
Do it. Do it.
We dare you.
Do it. We dare you. Click the dislike button. Everyone do it. We want the most dislikes on a video in history of the world. I
don't think we'll top YouTube Rewind.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't that have like 100 billion dislikes or something?
We could try.
Yeah.
We can always try, Jay.
Let's, at the very least, make it the most disliked video on this channel.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do. That's what we're doing, everybody.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks. Bye. Oh, finally.